When you retire, you may get a chance to go to football heaven. This is football heaven.
Hey guys, welcome to the Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Jameer Howerton, and I'm super excited as we kick off the 2023 season with our first in-studio guest from the class of 2020. Y'all all know him from Gold Teeth to Gold Jacket. My man, Edgerrin James, is in the building, a.k.a. Edge. Edgerrin, thank you for coming to Canton, Ohio to bless us with your presence, man. How you doing?
Thank you for bringing me back home.
Yeah.
You don't have to thank me to come home, man. You just say, hey, where have you been?
My bad, where have you been and welcome home?
Why haven't you been home? Why you been out running the streets?
Well, with that being said, there's so much to cover. You know, 2023 season is definitely underway with the announcement of this year's class. We're coming off the heels of Black History Month, where we were blessed and honored to celebrate the pioneers of the first. Before we deal with all of that, there's some numbers I want to go over as well. You're here in Canton, Ohio. It's not Enshrinement. It's not August. It's the beginning of March. Tell us why you're here in Canton. What's going on?
Well, I came home. I had to come back home. But I'm here because I want to, we want to kind of make things better. We're always trying to make things better. And, coming here, I got a chance to see, things that could actually help the situation or make things more exciting when you get here. And so I wanted to join forces with the Hall and put together a Pro Football Hall of Fame car show. I think people would love to see the antique cars. And also, South Florida, we have a unique car culture, and to be able to put that on display, I think those guys they don't get enough attention for the influence they have on so many guys, and to be able to bring it to Canton and actually bring some of that South Florida flavor to Canton, Ohio, I think it's pretty dope, and especially the response I got when I came down the slab. I call it the slab. When I came through the parade in the Hall of Fame inspired 1975 Chevy Impala or Chevy Caprice Classic, which we call a donk. So I think it's cool for everybody to get a chance to witness it, but now you're going to see more of those cars coming down in Canton during the parade. It's going to bring a little bit more excitement, so you can look forward to that parade, and it'll give you get a chance to take more pictures. Make sure you bring your cameras out. Bring those cameras.
So so now we're going to have the Enshrinement, and for those that don't know, because I know you've been behind closed doors meetings, so as soon as Enshrinement is over during Saturday's ceremony, we're talking about having the first and foremost, which will be an annual car show here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame campus.
Yeah, it's going to start that morning during the parade. During the parade, you'll see a limited amount of cars that will actually be on display, but you're going to see some of the Pro Football Hall of Famers, some of the former Hall of Famers, and some of the new inductees ride through the parade in the car, similar to the way I did it, the way I came down in the car. You're going to see guys coming in different cars that are very creative. And once you go through the Enshrinement and the Enshrinement is over, you're going to have the opportunity to come outside and go get up close and personal with the cars and the car owners and some of the Hall of Famers. They'll be there, get a chance to take pictures, get a chance to actually see all the detail and all the work that's put into these cars. They're not your average car. There are a lot of cars that people really put a lot of thought into.
So we're talking like antique muscle type cars.
We're talking about creative custom cars. It's more to it than the muscle. It's more about bringing your ideas and putting them on display. It's about the creativity. Every car owner is an artist, and the things he sees, his vision, he's able to bring it to life. And I think everybody enjoys that. It's like looking at a piece of art, and that's what it's going to be, rolling art.
How long have you been a part of the car culture?
Well, I started when I was 13, 14 with these cars. I've always been into the cars, but as you start dealing with them, you have to really be into them because they're time consuming. It takes a lot of work to put them together. And so I kind of got away from it for a while, but I've always watched the car culture. I've always watched the people that's doing those cars. And with the advancement of technology, they've made things better. You know, it makes it a little bit easier to have a car now because, you know, when I was younger, it seemed like it was always something going wrong. It was always a problem. But now they got it to where these cars can drive from Canton, Ohio to South Florida without a problem.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. And now that you're adding that spin on it, you're putting that touch on it.
Yeah.
I know California has a lot of great cars. They even have a lot of great cars in the Midwest, and we're hoping a lot of guys from the Midwest, you know, they step up and they come out and they put their cars in the car show. You know, we have a limited space, but every year we're going to make it better and better because I think it's much needed, and I think it's an opportunity for somebody to really show that, hey, I put a lot of work into this car. I think everybody needs to see, people need to see this.
Yeah, that's hot, man, because, I mean, I just feel like it speaks to the whole culture of football, excitement, you know, because here in Northeast Ohio, you have these little pockets of townships, and on any given Sunday afternoon, you'll fall up in a Burger King parking lot or whatever, and there's about 50, 60 cars out there, and it's the old-fashioned American graffiti type cars, and owners are out there, and, you know, it seems like it's a very family-friendly, cultural type of event.
Yeah, I think it's a celebration. It's a celebration because you're taking this car, you're taking ownership of it because this is saying a lot about you. It reflects your personality. And a lot of these guys, they put their heart and soul into these cars, and then they get together and they kind of celebrate each other's success. And you know, the game is who has the most popping car, you know, who has the flyest car, who has the car that brings the most attention to it.
Right.
And that's what you want to do. It's a friendly game, and it's actually fun. And you never know who's going to like your car, who you're going to inspire. And just being a part of that is motivating. You know, you have guys that's in the NFL, NBA, entertainers, all those guys have cars. And what we're going to try to do is get more of those guys to put their cars in there, but not only NFL, NBA, or celebrities. We want some of the normal people, or some of the locals, or some of anybody and everybody. Man, bring your creativity and put it on display.
I gotta ask you, I mean, you know, being a former NFL player, I can only imagine in Indianapolis at the team complex. You know, I know Monday through Wednesday it was work, but Thursday, Friday, as it got to like later in the week, did it turn into a car show where, yo, the running backs are going to bring their cars out against the tight ends and the defensive backs and so forth and so on? How competitive did it get at that team facility?
No, I think when it comes to football season, it's more you're going to use your updated cars, your newer cars.
Okay.
But the cars come out during the off season or during training, not the training camp, during mini camp or during summer workouts. You know, that's when when you get a chance to, when you have to be up there in the May and April and right before the season starts, and especially if you played in the Midwest, you know, the weather gets better a little bit later. So that's when you're able to bring those cars out. And I remember being in Indianapolis, it was Sunday Fun Day. We used to go out to the parks, and everybody was shocked that I would come out there. It was like, hold up, this guy is, you mean to tell me this guy's in the NFL, he plays for the Colts, but he's one of us? But it was my comfort zone. You know, I was able to, you know, pull out the vert, jump in there, let the top back, and ride through the hood, go to the parks, and it was actually a fun time.
Right.
You know, it was real fun, and everybody embraced you, and the thing about it wasn't like a celebrity moment. It was like, okay, your car, they respect your car, you respect their car. Like everybody's a celebrity there.
Before we move on, I gotta ask you one last question on the car tip. What was your first car that you actually put your heart and soul into?
Oh, my first car I got when I was 14 years old. It wasn't a convertible, but it was a four-door 1975 Chevy Impala.
Ooh.
Yeah,
you still have it?
Of course.
That's dope.
Still got it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. Well, as we're starting to build out the schedule, please be, tune in to ProFootballHOF.com when you're looking at your Enshrinement tickets, because that's going to be a new feature. And we announced this week also, too, the game. The New York Jets are going to face the Cleveland Browns right here. Joe Thomas is representing the Cleveland Browns along with Darrelle Revis and Joe Klecko. That should be some fun and excitement, too, Edgerrin.
Oh, yeah, you're going to have the whole Ohio out here. It's going to be Ohio heavy. So, it's going to be a great time. I think the stadium will be packed. I think it'll be filled out because, one thing about Cleveland, they love their Browns.
Yes, yes.
That's one thing I've witnessed. I've witnessed that year in and year out. They love the Browns no matter what. And so it's great. I'm happy for Joe.
Right.
And I'm happy for Ohio because they have somebody that's forever immortal, locked in this thing forever.
That's right. That's right. And being a former running back, having a cornerstone of that left tackle, I know you took care of your offensive line for blessing you, open up those holes. But when you look at Joe Thomas and you look at the way he played the game, talk about his contribution of what he brought to this game.
Man, Joe Thomas, it says a lot about the player when everything else around you is not working right or you're just not putting it together. This game, it wears on you. But for Joe Thomas to show up day in, day out, constantly putting in that work, constantly going out, being a pro, doing what it takes to be a pro, that says a lot about the person that he's really committed to his job, because you can easily get distracted or derailed from other things just not happening because,
right.
I played on teams and we always made the playoffs, and it seemed like that was the expectation, and that's where your mindset. And then when I made the transition to Arizona the first year or so, we didn't get there, and it's like it takes you out of your game,
right, when
you're not winning. Winning it helps, and not winning hurts, and it takes away from you as a player. And to see somebody like Joe go through those seasons that the team wasn't getting it done, he continued to do his job. He continued to show up, and that says a lot. As a teammate, that's the type of person you want on your team.
Man, as we congratulate Ronnie Barber, head coach Don Coryell, Chuck Howley, Joe Klecko, Darrelle Revis, Ken Riley, Joe Thomas, Zach Thomas, and DeMarcus Ware, members of this year's 2023 Pro Football Hall of Fame class. Two other names that jump out to me, Edgerrin. Number one, Zach Thomas. I mean, here's a guy you used to face twice a year. Talk about some of the battles that you and Zach had.
Oh, me and Zach, we battled. After he got inducted, I reached out to him, and we stayed on the phone for like 30, 45 minutes, and we went to talking about those battles that we had. And, when you're playing against people like Zach, Zach made me step my game up. Because when you have to battle people year in and year out, and that's going to be the determining factor whether you're going to make it to the playoffs or make it your advance in the playoffs, you got to really get to know them.
Right.
And Zach was somebody that made me have to step my game up, because he would see things or he would pick up clues on myself that would give him an advantage, and then vice versa. I would see certain things that he would do that gives me a nod. So we just battled back and forth. We was in the AFC East when I first came into the NFL, and so we played them twice a year. And being that I'm coming from South Florida, played at the University of Miami, family, friends, everybody's Dolphins fans. And so I got to go against the family, and I got to go against the Dolphins. So it's that right there was always something that you look forward to. But when you playing those teams, they were always in the playoff hunt. They were always playing good defense. They had a very sound defense that you had to really be on your stuff and be ready to play for 4 quarters. And Zach was relentless. Zach was somebody, they're talking about somebody undersized. That was like, they don't understand, like, he's one of those people that when you look at and say, size don't matter, size never mattered, because he knew how to get to the ball. He knew what it took to actually be successful in this league, and I think he broke down a lot of barriers for guys that were undersized, because he was getting it done. And he meant a lot to that position, because if you can get Zach out of position, then you got a chance to be successful. But if you give him any kind of freedom to let him roam and do his thing, you're going to be in for a long day because the guy never gives up. The guy was always relentless. So, man, I'm happy that we're on the same team. I'm happy that we're to hang out and chill and talk about all those epic battles that we had.
You know, I've been seeing a lot of clips, just, you know, when I'm scrolling at night, Ray Lewis and Eddie George, you know, that battles that they had, running back versus middle linebacker. Would you say you and Zach's kind of battle was similar to that? Or who was your, you know, Ray Lewis, if you will?
Well, it had to be Zach from the beginning because we were facing each other twice a year.
Right.
And either we're going to make the playoffs or they're not going to, or they're going to make the playoffs. But we always had to end up battling against each other. And when you're playing a guy twice a year and the guy has an impact on the game, you know, and you have an impact on the game, it's going to become a battle. So we battled year in and year out for those years that we actually were in the same conference.
Before you guys moved, Indianapolis Colts moved to the South. At one time, they were in the East and they played against the Jets a lot. But just being on the opposite side of the field, watching Darrelle Revis Island, a shutdown cornerback, another guy who's on this list that jumps out to me. That when you played in his era, how special was he, man?
I think it's just pretty dope to just even have your own island. You got your own piece of real estate, you know, and I think that says a lot about the person because any name that you're given in the NFL is pretty much earned.
Right.
You know, so for them to name him Revis Island and actually have that phrase just stick with you year in and year out, that says a lot about you as a person, and it says a lot about you as a player because you're handling your business. You're not being distracted. You're not letting anything stop you. And the fact that you're playing that cornerback position in a passing league, and this is when the league was really making that transition to a true passing league. And for Revis to get out there and still hold his own, that's tough. It's going to be hard to find another Revis, you know, especially in this day and age. You know, it's going to become more and more rare.
Right.
Because now the offense is becoming more advanced, and as far as defenders, you know, you're going to be at a disadvantage a lot. So it's going to take a special player to actually be able to do the things that the Revises and the Deion Sanders did during their career.
We know that there's something in the soil, in the water in Florida, without question. But when I think of Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, to get their love, Tony Dorsett, Ty Law, and now Darrelle Revis, you know, 3 Pro Football Hall of Famers coming from that era. That speaks volumes.
Yeah, and I think each one of them had an example. You had a built-in example. You know, if you were Ty Law, you know, you always knew that Tony Dorsett came from the same place that I came from. And then if you're Revis, you always knew that, hey, Ty Law came from the same place that I came from. And the thing about somebody that's coming out of your backyard or coming out of the same space that you've come from, they actually give you hope and a little bit more motivation because you know that it's possible. And then you're always chasing them. You have something to chase. Yeah. Like those guys had something to chase within that same small town. So I know everybody around there is happy, and I'm quite sure that, you know, that they probably got the most Hall of Famers per capita in the world. I'm quite sure.
Well, salute to those men, and we can't wait to honor you here in Canton, Ohio, man. I know you can't wait to talk to them when you come back in Canton this year.
Oh, yeah, man. I love it, man, because it's a moment that you really can't explain, and the only person that really is going to understand it is the person that's going through it or the person that's been there. So it's limited with the amount of people that you can actually have that real Hall of Fame conversation with.
Yeah, man. I mean, you think about out of the thousands of men that have played this game and contribute to this game, there's only 371 enshrined in Canton, Ohio, in that gold bronze bust, a gallery that's right next door to us.
Nah, that's really important. That's why when you see me, you can always see the number 336 HOF, because it's very important, because you think about how many people actually play this game. And when you look at it and say, man, you mean to tell me it's thousands and thousands of people that have played this game year in and year out. And out of all those people, I'm one of the people that's chosen, or I did enough to actually be recognized for playing the sport. You know, it means a lot, and it really puts things in perspective. So all those guys, they get a chance to really see, like, man, you know, out of all those people that ever played the game, it's 300 and some of us. And the other thing that really puts it in perspective for myself is when you lose a soldier. You know, every year it seems like we've been losing multiple soldiers.
Yeah.
And you start looking at it, there's only 100 and some
Yeah.
living Hall of Famers. And that right there really stands out because it says how rare it is.
Yeah.
And it says that, hey, this is a special place. And I think anybody that's playing the game should do everything within their power to kind of get this feeling.
And with that being said, man, as we put a bow on this podcast, I look behind us, 1999, first-round draft pick, fourth selection overall. You know, it was well written that you were selected in the first round because the team had great expectations for you as you were picked to replace the recent trade of the then future Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk. And you did not disappoint the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, I think when you come into the league, you know, I think everybody has goals and everybody wants to actually reach all those goals, attain those goals. And for myself, I stayed within my purpose. I stayed within my plan, and I just did what it took to be successful. And so when you become the fourth pick, a lot of people look at it as there's pressure, or you come in my situation, you need a lot of eyes on you because you're replacing somebody that's great. But if you understand the backstory, you understand the purpose,
Right.
you understand the person, you shouldn't be surprised. You know, it's one of those things where, hey, I'm coming to this league with a purpose, and I'm going to fulfill that purpose. And that's what I set out to do day in and day out. I totally committed to it, and now you see it, 336. That means it worked out.
What, you know, I watch the stories and I can only imagine, but yeah, just to hear that comfortability because playing at the U then, and you were part of that undefeated season.
No,
you wasn't part of it. I'm sorry.
I was part of the start.
The start of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had to go through the transition to get it to where it needed to be. We had to go through the turmoil. When I came in, it was sanctions and all those things.
Copy that. But just to be under that scrutiny and play at a house like that had to build you and prepare you for the next journey, for the next step.
No, I go back to purpose. I go back to purpose. You know, University of Miami, it was aligned with the purpose. You know, it was everything was aligned. You know, I'm coming from a place to where, hey, football is life. Football it's gonna solve so many problems for me and for my family. So it meant more to me. And then I go to the University of Miami to where you have a bunch of guys that's confident in themselves, that competes day in and day out. And they actually have the same purpose or same plan or same mindset. So once you get that mindset and you just keep building on it, and the confidence comes from the guy next to you or the guy that's behind you. You know, the guy behind you, you know, you gotta keep that gap between him and the guy in front of you. You gotta close that gap, you know, and that's the game. You gotta continue doing that. And then once you get out on the field, when opportunity comes, you have to do something. You can't just get there and be content. You have to consistently do something. And that's what I stood on, and that's why I put in so much work, because I know that, hey, if you're gonna do this, you gotta be able to do this day in and day out. You know, it's gotta be forever if you're gonna be out here. If not, you have somebody that wants that seat.
Facts. Before I let you go, what is your advice to members of the new class that's coming in, if you ever get the time to talk to them?
Oh, members of the new class, man, get ready for a life-changing experience, because this is forever, you know, and it's not a term that's just tossed around. When you come into this building, when we say, hey, you're coming back home, it feels like home, you know, and forever you'll be enshrined, you'll be immortal, you'll be sitting in there, and your kids and your kids' kids, everybody is gonna get a chance to see what you've accomplished. And so I say embrace it, enjoy it, and it's gonna be fun. And you'll see. That's all I say.
I can't wait for the car show this year, man.
Yeah, it's gonna
that's
be dope.
that's gonna be hot. That's gonna be fly.
Yeah,
It's fly.
Yeah, we try to do nothing but fly stuff. You know, we try to keep it fly.
Thank you for your time, Edgerrin. And guys, don't forget to visit profootballhof.com. Use the code MISSION, MISSION, because this year's 2023 class swag is on sale right now. You use the code MISSION and you'll get 20% off. Well, that's going to do it for Edgerrin James and myself. Thank you for joining us right here on The Mission.